Welcome to itsm.express, the minimalist service management system. I'm Lari Peltonemi and I will walk you through this great course of the basics of the service management processes. First, we do a couple of introductions and basics to get oriented with the course in the right way. This course is originally a 1.5 day course. The actual training takes about 1 day, and the half day is reserved for exercises and discussions to create the understanding around this area. This is specifically suitable to be done within the corporate context, where the people from the different parts of the organization join together and gain common understanding about the key things that they do around IT service management. As you're listening to my view and my story, a few things about myself so you can put everything I say into a context. So I'm an IT service management consultant and I've been doing the IT service management within the organizations for over 20 years. My most of experience is from organizations that consume IT services. Usually the big ones in Finland are about 10,000 employees or bigger, but I have also been with the smaller organizations, starting from the organizations of size of something 40. I've also spent a couple of years with the IT service providers, and even though they talk about the same things, and also these things by default are the same, and they come up in a different kind of way because the context is different. And therefore, I will try to keep up with lots of perspectives, both the consumers and the service providers, I mean commercial service providers, even though most of my stuff naturally comes from the organization perspective that consumes IT services and provides them to their own internal businesses. Currently, I'm a freelance self-employed consultant and trainer. I do different kind of trainings around IT service management, cybersecurity, and that kind of stuff. And of course, because I like the work itself in the large organizations, I spend significant amount of my time to actually exercising this one. Just for the pure fact that it's so much fun to do it with people and it makes life a lot better. I a little bit know about the story of line of this course, but I expect this one to be also a good introduction for you. And the fact is that every perspective to IT service management is a little bit different. So when you hear mine, your life will be richer, even though you would, from your own expertise, know the stuff already. So therefore, it always makes sense to listen up somebody else's story, like in this case, mine. This course material is based on ITSM Express Manual version 1.1, and there is a examination where you can show that you understand this stuff also a little bit more in practice, one level more step further than this one. But in case this would be a normal training, I would recommend you to put up my notes, my examples, because they are easy way to remember the content. Uh, I would recommend you to share your insights and make notes about your internal history to actually in recapping, then to understand and remember those ideas. Also, if you think about in the future that you need to implement something and do something differently, write those ones down while listening and at the story. And I ask questions. But as this is a recording without any form of interaction, then please feel free to stop the recording in any phase if you need to do some notes. And otherwise, if you plan to do the exam based on this recording, then doing the notes is recommendable because it's one way to learn. This training is also based on the body of knowledge that you can find for free at itsm.express in multiple languages. Even though this material is based quite exactly on that body of knowledge, then it's worth reading the body of knowledge also once by yourself because it creates a written storyline rather than this one. I will talk a little bit more about the exam in the end of the training, but it's based on the book. So that's what it makes fair for you to be able to complete the exam with the information from the body of knowledge and the related understanding. So that's another reason why it's a good idea to spend a couple of hours to read the book through. So this course is about learning the fundamental principles of service management, stuff that we do every day and are the key things to start from if we need to make some service to provide value to customers and users. That's my basic perspective from service management is to make individual service work. And of course, as we will see, we have different layers in the service management. Stuff that we plan from the organization perspective, stuff that we plan from all the services perspective, and eventually stuff that we do on individual service perspective. That is the key vehicle to facilitate value. This course is also not just about read aloud what it says in the book, it's also about understanding. That comes through the practices and the examples, and it's eventually about having fun, as learning in life is. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. There is a solid storyline in itsm Express. Let's look more detail about it. Storyline comes from the 4 stages. So if you start from scratch and you start to implement service management on your services, you need to do the 4 stages or 4 different kind of things and approximately in this order. So the first one is to define your organization, starting from governance, who decides what, and you should do stuff that the organization should do. I mean, decision making, risks, understanding the stakeholders, especially the consumer one, and that actually then leads you to understand who you are, what you are trying to produce, and possibly what kind of services will provide value in your case. The second one is then to jump into design and build an individual service. And that starts from the detailed design of the service itself, as well as all the building and putting into production kind of actions that are first done in pieces when you set up a new service, and of course eventually you repeat this one when you change the service that you're doing. But again, this one pretty much falls in the level of a service. Of course, you should have organization specific approaches that you will do this more in the same way across the services than in differently, because otherwise you don't have any kind of management architecture and it becomes impossible to manage. But eventually, by the end of the day, you design a service, you build it, you run it, and if that gets done, then most of the job gets done. But you actually design part of these ones in the stage 3 stuff already earlier, but you execute those ones only when the service is live and operational. You should execute the information security related to that one, analyze risks, manage vulnerabilities and that kind of stuff. And then you should measure whether you are doing yourself well or delivering value, whatever that is. You can do that one only on the services that are live and operational. And big thing, I even mentioned already in one word, the improve. You need to improve your service and your ways of working. And the time and place for that one is that when you actually already have the service. And eventually and finally the 4th stage, which can be considered to be also after stage 2, is to respond. And those are those daily activities that you need to have in place in order the service to be supported and consumed in the right way. And for that one, we introduced the idea of the service desk. I mean, centralized place for getting support. And then, of course, then the actual end user related work is a major part of the services and the service management themselves. So that's why a unique approach to handle all those end user related requests, the response process. So within those four stages and these approximately 11 processes, that's what they call in this stage, then we are quite well off with the basics of service management. Welcome aboard.